Welcome to the Jackson Rudolph Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Rudolph, and this is Inside Sport Karate, a special live edition of the Jackson Rudolph Podcast here from the Renaissance Waverly Hotel at the Battle of Atlanta. We are just hours away from the Battle Zone Finals, one of the most prestigious nighttime finals in all of sport karate. And here with me for the first segment of our show today are the two men that will face each other in the lightweight overall grand championship, Bailey Murphy, Tyson Ray.
Yes, sir.
This is going to be a fun one, y'all. So first and foremost, I want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Bailey, we'll start with you.
My name is Bailey Murphy. I'm 21 years old. I'm on Team Straight Up, powered by G-Force. I had some good fights today, so.
And Tyson?
I'm Tyson Ray from Team Next Level, Jesse Ray's prodigy, Bronx, New York, born and raised, so.
And I love how both these guys are like, you should already know who I am, right? So the crazy thing that I really want to emphasize here as we start the show, these two dudes, if you guys subscribe to the Battle of Atlanta on YouTube, make sure you tune into the Battle Zone Finals, you're going to get to see these guys punching and kicking each other, trying to get that lightweight overall grand championship, one of the biggest titles of the evening, right?
Yes, sir.
Those major point fighting titles, the lightweight and heavyweight overalls, the open weight, which Bailey, we're going to talk about that too. These are some of the biggest titles that you can win, especially at the premier point fighting event in the United States here at the Battle of Atlanta, right? So I want to start with a recap of the action today, because what those watching from home may not realize, you guys had to fight through all of your divisions to get to this point. It's not just that you're this good and so we put you on stage for it. You both earned your way into this position. So Bailey, give us a recap of making your way through your lightweight division today, some of the opponents that you faced and any challenges that you overcome.
100%. So I had a good division today. I fought a younger fighter from Leclerc. I had a lot of potential. Then I fought an all-star, which was Ben Mole. Him and I had a pretty good fight. Ben Welch. Him and I had a pretty good fight. I ended up beating him by 2 or 3, so it was a good fight. Then Tyreek Pierre, my best friend Tyreek Saint, him and I scrapped. We had an awesome fight. I got the better of him today, beat him by 4, I believe. Then I had to fight Enrique, who's also on Top 10 USA. Super great kicker. Him and I had a tough fight, went into overtime. So, I had to battle to get into this position. So, I'm happy to be here.
And quite the gauntlet, right?
Yeah,
Having to fight. I mean,
yeah.
These are guys that have won lightweight overall grands.
Yeah,
Tyreek, Enrique. Like, that is truly making it through a gauntlet
Yeah,
to face this man,
Yeah.
Tyson Ray. Talk about your
sir.
path to the championship tonight.
So today, I had the lightweight battle today. I started off, I fought Yasker from Team Diamond. He gave me a pretty good fight. I ended up pulling away in the last 30 seconds. After that, I fought, I'm not too sure of his name, but I fought a really good guy from Team Revolution. He mixed it up with me. Once again, I pulled away in the last 30 seconds, and I closed out. I fought Blake Spence from Top 10 USA, really good kicker, really good puncher. We had a very neck-to-neck match. We was going back and forth, and to the buzzer went off. I ended up winning by 1, literally with like 5 seconds left. So, I ended up pulling it out. And then I fought the lightweight grand against the known John Cartullo. Very patient, very good counter, and just very good striker in general. Actually was down in that fight and came back within 5 seconds, 3 points. So, I ended up pulling it out, to make it to the lightweight overall.
And that's one of the things that you got to love about being in the overall grand championship is that both opponents are battle tested, right?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
the gauntlet that both of you guys talk about, these are some of the top ranked lightweights in the world. You're squaring off with them and you're coming out on top now to have this opportunity to dance with each other, right?
Yes, sir.
And I want to preview another big fight between you guys tonight. And this is a story that we've seen before, right? Mm-hmm. Even the Battle of Atlanta last year, we saw you guys go at it. Obviously, Bailey coming out on top, lightweight grand, the open weight. I think that's what I called Murphy Mania.
Last year, I won the lightweight. Tyson won the.
That's right.
open
You
weight.
won the open weight,
I
and
won
then
it.
it was again in the brass.
I won it.
That's
So
what it was.
I won the open weight 2021. So the past 2 years, it has been Tyson and myself though winning that open weight title.
Sure.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like, both defending champions, right? We
Yes,
got a
sir.
defending open weight champion, the defending lightweight champion, and then through the bracket, you went on and won that ultimate
Yes,
title,
sir.
right? So you guys know each other really well.
Very well.
As
Very
athletes,
well.
right?
Yes,
As
sir.
people
Yes, sir.
too, but as athletes.
Yeah, yes, sir. 100%.
So as you both look ahead to that matchup tonight, without giving too much away to your opponent, what do you feel like are some of your keys to success? And be as generic as you want to be, but let's get a little peek inside the mind of two top fighters. Bailey, we'll start with you.
100%. So, obviously it's always an honor to share the ring with Tyson. He's a great fighter. I love fighting great fighters. I like challenges, It doesn't mean much to me if I'm fighting somebody that's not really on my level. So for me, I'm looking forward to, the chess match. Having all the fakes, the footwork, the movement, the spurts and points. Because when Tyson and I fight, for the most part, it's momentum points. He'll go, it swings. He'll score 5, I'll get 5. He'll score 2, I'll get 3. 1, 2, we just go back and forth. So I love that constant competition, being able to, make each other better. We get better during the fight. That's what I love.
I love it, and I love that message of you guys being able to lift each other up and push each other. And it sounds like, Bailey, you're kind of predicting a high-scoring affair just based on history, right?
100%,
Yes, sir.
a 2-round fight. So it's
definitely
definitely going to be fireworks. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. And we're all looking forward to it too, right? Now, as we shift to Tyson, do you agree? Do you expect a high-scoring match? How are you looking into it?
100%. I agree. Everybody that steps in front of you, is not going to push you. Everybody's not going to make you better or cause you to exert all your energy. Bailey's one of those people that you got to give him 100%, 150%. Both rounds, full 2 minutes. So I'm looking forward to that. I came here with a goal and a plan. Bailey, he has a few wins on me, so I got some catching up to do. So I'm looking to get my first, but it's always an honor to share the ring with him. He pushing me to levels I didn't even know I could go to, and that we're still going. So it's an honor for sure.
What I love about this conversation so much is this mutual respect. It's been a theme across both of the podcast episodes that we've done today, is so many of these top athletes just showing that love and respect for each other. And it starts and ends with the fact that we're all martial artists, right? First and foremost, before you're a competitor, you're a martial artist, and that's where that mutual respect comes from. I want to give some of the viewers a little bit deeper peek inside you guys' minds, but also demonstrate that respect. Interesting question. Bailey, I want you to tell me what your favorite part of Tyson's game is, and then Tyson will flip the question back on you for Bailey. So Bailey, when you watch Tyson fight, what is it that you respect the most about his game?
That he's very, very versatile. I believe I'm a versatile fighter myself. So, seeing other people that are very versatile, it's awesome to watch. Like, I watch Tyson, and while I'm watching him fight, I'm like, yeah, he's nice. Like that, it's exciting to watch. I like watching good fighters. So seeing him be able to switch it up between kicks and then start mixing up with his footwork and catch a nice back fist, that's one of his favorite techniques, I'm sure, too. That's my favorite technique, too. So it's just awesome to see, kind of similar styles. Like, we do things differently, but there's spurts and moments where, we look the same type of thing, So that's cool to see.
And I love that description of the styles, because in ways you guys do have a similar style, but you use different weapons, right?
Sure,
and that's one of the things that makes this such a compelling fight, and why there's always fireworks when we see the two of you in a lightweight final, in an open weight matchup, whatever the case may be.
For sure.
Tyson, flipping that question back on you, what do you respect most about Bailey's game?
I love Bailey's resilience. His, he never wants to lose, all right? So he has the never give up mindset. And just his creativity when he fights. He's always looking like he's having fun. All right, he's never too down. He's never too up. He just uses his skills to the best of his ability, and he's resilient, and that's the best. That's the only way to be. So that's what I really like about his game.
I love it. This is awesome, guys. And the other thing that I want to talk about, we've talked a lot about the lightweight grand, the matchup that the two of you are going to have. We've also got the open weight tonight. Tyson, I want to start with you on this one so you can kind of catch us up on who you fought against in the open weight, kind of what your path looked like. And then, of course, Bailey's got that upcoming final against Tyreek, who's also going to be on the show here in just a few minutes. So we'll preview that a little as well. But Tyson, what was that open weight experience for you? What do you think tripped you up this time around?
So yesterday, I think I just had, a slow start, maybe first tournament in, maybe a few weeks or since like Quebec or Ocean State. So, my legs are a little heavy. Just first fight blues. It went to overtime, so it wasn't that bad, but that's definitely a fight I feel like I should have dominated, but which I didn't. But I don't think that will happen again. So,
right. And that's for any competitor, right? We always have those performances where something just didn't feel quite right. You wish you could get it back,
Yes, sir.
but you got it back in the best way, making it all the way to the lightweight grand
Yes,
here
sir.
tonight, right?
Never leave with regret.
Yes, sir.
And so, Bailey, you've got that matchup with Tyreek coming up. Tell us about your path through the open weight and give us a little preview of what we can expect in that fight for you tonight.
For sure. So in the open weight yesterday, I was very dominant. I fought Alonzo Payne. I beat him pretty soundly. Followed that up by fighting Anthony Zangari on Team CBR. Beat him pretty well as well. Then I ended up having to fight my two teammates after that. So I fought Brandon Ballou during the day and for the final of the bracket. Then they take the final four to the Friday night battle fights. And I ended up fighting my new teammate, Jarvis Miller. We battled it out, ended up beating him by 4, which put me against Tyreek Saint, who I'm very familiar with as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that fight. And just one thing is, it's kind of funny. So I won open weight 2021, and then last year I lost my first fight. Same thing happened. Same thing
happened to me.
It's a curse.
I won last year, and I lost my first fight this year.
It's a curse.
Yeah.
Overtime. Both fights were overtime too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's why I think record keeping is so important. And that's why I love the fact that now we're doing more podcasts like this so we can keep a record of those trends like that happen. Like, it's crazy that 2 years in a row, defending open weight goes to overtime in the first round, and it just doesn't work out for them that day. So that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Another thing that we've been talking about on the show a lot today is how much fun it is to be a spectator, right? Obviously, when you're in the moment, you're in the ring, you're focused on you and your success and your path to victory. But sometimes, especially like for you guys being lightweights, you ever just sit back and watch the heavyweights and just appreciate watching some of that world-class talent? So the question I'm going to pose for both of you is, are there any fights that you just sat back and watched this weekend that you're like, man, I could watch that fight on repeat? Something that went to overtime, a crazy fight, maybe an upset. Is there anything like that that stands out as some big memories from some of those best fights that you saw just during the weekend?
For me, I loved watching Next Level versus Leclerc. Tyson, I think you guys were down a couple when you went in. So it's just cool to see, Tyson be able to, bring it out and, clutch up and win that fight. And then we ended up fighting. We had an awesome fight as well. I think there's a lot of great fights yesterday. Yeah, it was cool to see Tyreek and Enrique fight as well.
Ooh, yeah.
That was a good fight. Ty beat him pretty well, and Enrique's a great fighter. So it's cool to see, two great fighters, one be dominant. Just pick the other fighter apart, and that was cool to see. Devin Hopper, he's been having a great event as well. Him and Ty had a great fight in their semifinal fight. So yeah, that was really cool to see.
That's awesome. Good overview of some of the big fights that have happened this weekend. You mentioned Devin Hopper. He'll be against your teammate in the heavyweight final tonight,
sir.
Brandon Ballou. That's another one people are going to want to look forward to.
Yeah, Brandon and Alex. That was a good fight.
Oh.
Brandon and Alex, they had a great fight. Brandon really pulled away in the last 15 seconds, had a couple blitzes back to back, then a side kick. But other than that, it was a close fight. It's one of those where the score doesn't really tell the true story of the fight. So that was a nice fight.
And that division is so stacked. I believe that's the middleweights, right? I mean, there's just so much depth in that division.
Payne, Alex, there's a lot of them. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's a tough division.
Awesome. So a great overview of some of those big fights that we've seen in the eliminations. Tyson, your chance. Any other fights that stand out to you?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to really see the heavyweights compete today, but yesterday some fights that stood out was Jarvis Miller versus Brian Rodriguez.
Okay.
Brian was actually up I think maybe 3 points, and within 5 to 10 seconds, Jarvis came back and actually won the match.
Wow.
Down 3. Jarvis' first tournament, actually as a straight up member, and he made it to the semifinals for open weight. So that was really impressive to me, especially being down against an experienced vet like Brian Rodriguez. Also a team match, Team Straight Up versus Team Diamond. I think Bailey came in about down 6 maybe.
Wow.
Down 6, down 5, and he brought it back like a vet. So that was just really impressive to me, and that those two are definitely some standout-ish moments.
And that's one of the things that's so special about team fights, right? There's nothing like when one team's got the lead, maybe they've dominated most of the match, but then that anchor comes in, and everybody knows that when that anchor steps into fight, if the other team doesn't have an answer, anything can happen, right? Doesn't matter what the deficit is. Like in point fighting, 6 is huge.
Yeah.
That's 3 kicks. Like in NASCAR rules, that's 3 kicks. That's a huge deficit, right? So that's one of the things that's so crazy about point fighting is the potential that can happen, because the momentum, sometimes you see it transfer between fighters, but a lot of the times if the anchor is somebody who's truly elite, like you guys, right? When that truly elite fighter steps in, it can totally change the tide of the fight, right?
100%.
So the thing that I want to close with is we've talked about the Battle of Atlanta, the prestige of the Battle Zone Finals a little bit. I want to give you guys an opportunity to speak to the history of this tournament. How special is it to be a fighter in these giant open weight divisions at the Battle of Atlanta? You know, people talk about the Irish Open. That's over in Europe. Yeah. When you're in America, when it comes to point fighting, this is it, right?
100%.
So let's get you guys' perspective on how important this tournament is.
Yeah, so it's getting crazy. I'm not old, but I'm starting to feel a little old. Like, my first battle was 10 years ago. Wow. So, Battle of Atlanta 2013, that's when Ray won the Extreme Warrior Challenge. That was really one of my first national tournaments before I was on straight up or on, like, a national team at all. So, seeing that as a kid, like, I already knew, like, that's where I belong. Like, that's the stage that I'm going to be on. Like, that's kind of my mindset. It gave me that it's like the blueprint almost. Like, I know what I have to do, and I know, like, I want to be on that stage. And it's crazy that 30 years in a row I have that opportunity. So I'm very grateful.
That's special. That's awesome.
Sure.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, because that's such a cool story. I feel like every top sport karate competitor has that moment when they were a kid that they realize, this is it for me. This is what I want to do. Tyson, speaking to how big Battle of Atlanta is.
You know, it's crazy because 2013 was actually my first battle too. I was a brown belt competing in the 8 and 9 division, and I was watching Raymond, Ross, Jack, Kodak Ray, Jesse Ray. They was all still fighting. Zolt. So it was just like, I was looking at them like you know, like these guys were action figures. Like they were not real people to me. You know, especially being a brown belt, being 8 years old. So, you know, I always wanted to be on that stage. I told myself, you know, I'm just gonna keep going. You know, one day I'm gonna get there if I keep going. You know, the work gonna show. So, you know, the battle's always been one of the biggest tournaments. Seeing James Poor win the open weight and the lightweight, that for sure was like, I gotta do that. You know, I want to be a part of that list. Seeing Kodak Ray win it, you know, just seeing a bunch of people win it, just, you know, the battle always been that tournament. You know, if you want to fight, you know where to come.
Awesome. And what a great perspective coming from 2 of the guys that are going to be in the Battle Zone Finals tonight. Best of luck to the both of you. I told you guys off the record before the show, I don't care which one of you wins as long as you give us a good fight.
Yes, sir.
I got so much respect for the 2 of you. Keep doing great things in your own careers. Keep doing great things for the sport. Appreciate you guys' time coming on the show.
No problem. Thank you.
When we come back,
thank you for having me.
When we come back to Inside Sport Karate, Mason Stillwell, Tyreek Saint of Top 10 Team USA. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Go.
JPM, baby.
Welcome back to the Jackson Rudolph Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Rudolph, and this is Inside Sport Karate. If you're tuning in, you just heard from Bailey Murphy and Tyson Ray, who are going to be going to battle in the lightweight overall grand championship for point sparring here tonight. Now with me, we've got Mason Stowell and Tyreek Saint of Top 10 Team USA, two teammates with two very different competitive styles. One of them a traditional forms expert, as well as a CMX forms expert, although he's not doing
Absolutely.
it for me yet. And then we've also got a point fighting expert in Tyreek Saint. First and foremost, I want to give you guys an opportunity to just introduce yourselves to our audience. Tyreek, we'll start with you.
Start with me. How are you guys doing? Jackson, thank you for having me. I'm Tyreek Saint. I'm from Top 10 USA. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I am from the school of Ben's Victory Martial Arts. I've been doing karate my whole life, since 3 years old. And karate's never done me wrong, so I'm sticking with it.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Mason?
My name is Mason Stowell. I've been doing martial arts for like 15 years now. Only sport I ever did. Stuck with it, found a passion for it. I'm on Top 10 Team USA as well. And then when I'm competing overseas at different events, I compete for Team Sharedo. And that's why I'm wearing this shirt today. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. And, pleasure to be here at this tournament and this event. So.
And the other thing that I got to say about Mason first is that he is from just outside of Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
And his sister, September, we got to give her a shout out.
Go Nuggets, baby.
For the
Go Nuggets, baby. Come on.
So give a little shout out to the Nuggets real quick.
Shout out my sister. She's actually here. She surprised me and flew out this morning. So she's here. She got to watch me compete, and that was really cool of her.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah.
Does she get a championship ring?
She does get a ring.
That's sick.
Which is unbelievable. So I'm gonna try and figure out a way to steal it and sell it on eBay. But no, I'm just playing.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So the next thing is now everybody kind of knows who you guys are. They probably should have before they ever tuned in, right? But now I want to move to just kind of a recap of what you guys have been through this weekend. For those of you wondering, both of these guys are going to be in the Battle Zone finals tonight. Mason Stowell for traditional kata, Tyreek Saint in the open weight final against Bailey Murphy, who you guys just saw on the show. So Tyreek, take us through that path to the open weight final.
Sheesh. Honestly, I would say my route to the finals was pretty tough. My bracket started off with Darren Payne, so I fought Darren first, and then I fought my elite camp brethren. I fought Kevin Walker. Then after Kevin, I fought my actual teammate. I fought Enrique Latona, and on stage last night I fought Devin Hopper, and now I got to fight Bailey Murphy in the finals. We also are going to stage for teams as well. That was actually pretty hard fought teams as well, We fought Legend first. Not Legend. We fought Diamond G3 and we fought Legend. The Legend matchup was actually pretty tough. They were bigger guys. They had Yoskar in there. Yoskar was in there thumping. It was really fun, but it was definitely tough to get to stage this time.
And that's crazy seeing, you mentioned Yoskar Gomez. We're talking about a 30, 40-plus senior competitor representing Team Legend, coming in, fighting the 18 to 29 guys. Yeah. If anybody's going to do it, it's him, right? Obviously, you got a bunch of killers in that senior division right now. Yeah. El Java, right? You want to give a shout-out to some of those
Sensei
killers?
Java.
Shout out our coaches. That's my guy.
Shout out Sensei Java. Shout out Bob Liker, because I know he'll still, if you give him some gears, he'll still, go off a little bit, Shout out my instructor, too, Troy Benz.
Yes, sir.
I love it. So, Tyreek, you talk about that gauntlet that you went through to get to the open weight final. I mean, those are all, high-level fighters that you're competing against. Who gave you the toughest test along the way? Which fight were you kind of wiping your brow coming out of ooh, man, that was a close one?
Honestly, I think my toughest fight that day was K-Swift, was Kevin Walker. I had a pretty hard time with Kevin. It was a really good fight, and it was really close. I think it went into next point win. I'm not too sure. But I had a really good time in that fight. Another fight that was pretty tough for me as well was Devin Hopper.
Yeah.
Devin Hopper. We fought on stage, but we also had a gentleman's agreement before we fought. You know, we wanted to give the NASCA a little bit of taste of Waco, so we was like throwing a lot of body jabs, jump back fists, very Waco-esque fighting, you know, and it was really fun. You know, that was definitely like one of my most fun fights, honestly, ever. You know, I had
That was really fun to
fight.
watch.
I had a
Yeah.
really good time in that fight, and
That was cool.
I really hope we gave everybody a good show. You know, shout out D-Hop, yo. Shout out D-Hop. Recently, he's become like literally one of my.
Well, that's what we were just talking. As our set starts to fall apart, we were just only at the Battle of Atlanta, right? But we were just talking. I was talking to Cam on Good Morning Sport Karate, the podcast that we did earlier. We were talking about. I mean, Devin Hopper, one of the most like criminally underrated point fighters in the game
absolutely.
right now,
Yes.
especially as hot as he's been in recent months, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of fighters who have been hot for as long as we can remember, we've got Bailey Murphy as your matchup for the open weight tonight.
Yeah.
A very familiar opponent,
Man,
somebody that
oh
you've
man.
trained with a lot, you've met them in tournaments a lot, and you even helped him teach in a seminar a couple of nights ago here at the Battle of Atlanta, right?
Yeah,
So
I
give
actually-
us a little bit of a preview of that matchup with a very familiar, friendly foe.
Yeah, so just to give, just to also catch everybody up, I will not be on stage for the lightweight overall. Bailey and I ended up being in the same division too, which also hasn't happened in years. You know, we both met at 150s this tournament. I'm normally in 140s, he's normally in 160s. It wasn't planned or anything. It's just that like that's where we ended up. You know, and it also like takes a certain person to like still like be in that same division. You know, we both understood like what was gonna happen. We was gonna fight. So that was kind of like a warm up to what's gonna happen tonight. You know, I feel like both Bailey and I are risers. What I mean by risers is we flourish under the lights. You know, so me personally, I really do love. Like one of my favorite parts about being at tournaments is being on stage. You know, I love the lights. I like being under the lights, and it just makes me feel different. You know, and Bailey is also the same way.
Right.
You know, so it's gonna like I'm prepared for a tough fight. You know, I've rewatched the fight that we had today, and I'm sure he's rewatched it too. You know, at the highest level, like even when you win fights, you have to make adjustments for the next fight. You know, especially when you know who you're going against. Right. You know, and it's gonna be a really tough fight. I can't tell like how it's gonna go, but I have my game plan. I'm sure he has his game plan, and let the best man win.
That's awesome. And that's one thing for those of you tuning in. I mean, every time we were talking about the Bailey and Tyson matchup and how they always give us fireworks, it's the same thing with you and Bailey. Like the two of you, you know each other so well, and you can watch the chess match as the fight evolves, right? Yeah. Especially when you guys get to have like a 2-round fight, right? The adjustments that get made in between that first and second round, it is so high level getting to watch that and experience that. So for those of you tuning into the Battle Zone Finals tonight, make sure, don't just enjoy the technique, because that will be exciting. Make sure you're paying attention to the adjustments, the change of pace, the change to the fakes, the movement, which one's taking the center, which one's working the outside, because those adjustments are going to wind up making the difference in who comes away with the open weight title.
Yeah, at the elite level, those at the elite level, all the fights are tight. You know, like it literally comes down to that 1 point or that 2 point swing. You know, of course, like there's usually a dagger in every sport. You know, there's a dagger. You know, that technique that you just hit somebody with, or like the jump shot you just shot. That's like, yo, like after this is over. You know, and usually like the reason why scores look so crazy is because usually you're gonna have to hustle after the dagger. You know, so then people end up starting making mistakes, and that's when the lead usually spreads. You know, but that usually happens in the very end. You know, but I'm super excited about tonight. We fight for teams, which is going to be a crazy matchup.
Oh yeah.
Because this is the first time we're going to be fighting. I mean, not the first time, but we won last year. We won teams last year.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
When you win so much, you just forget which ones you won, right?
Come on now.
Yeah, we won teams last year. I'm excited, yo. We the defending champs. Let's get that back.
I love it. Run it back. And now, Tyreek, thank you for that breakdown of all the point fighting action. That's going to be a ton of fun. Mason, you've been quiet. We're going to pivot and start talking about some traditional kata, right?
Let's do it.
Tell us about your path to get to the overall grand championship tonight, and then the challenge that lies ahead.
First off, it's been way harder than it normally is. So at the last tournament, Quebec Open, I was called for a division I wasn't ready for, and they threw me in, and it gave me essentially 2 minutes from being dead cold. I was about to leave the arena to put my uniform on, and I had to go second. And so I bowed in without a gi. I put my gi on, stretched real quick, first guy, super quick kata, and I ended up pulling my hamstring in that match. I was able to finish, but I had bobbled a couple times, and I qualified for the finals, so that's good. And then at the end of the nighttime show, I pulled through. I had to adjust my game plan. I was able to complete my kata and get the title, but my hamstring hasn't been right since. So it's been a tough experience. I just went to Japan last week to get training, and I was not 100% while I was there. So it was tough, but I pushed through. Got some great training in with Sakamoto Sensei, one of the most well-respected senseis in the entire world in all of karate. And so that was an amazing experience. And coming here, I had to adjust my game plan. And from the first division, it was just kind of like, it was just kind of a test in the waters and kind of seeing exactly where I was at. So obviously I had a good warm-up. I felt nice going into it. Felt the mats, knew what I had to do, and ended up winning both my divisions, one yesterday, one today. Completed my runoff run and qualified for the finals. So far it hasn't been giving me any issues, but it's something like when you have like an injury like that and you're not like 100%, like you're constantly thinking about it, and like all I do is throw kicks like as fast as I possibly can. Like I'm not gonna slow down. So I'm just trying to pace myself and make sure that everything's gonna be good for tonight. So we'll see. I'm hoping it holds through. So yeah, it's been a good run.
Some adversity coming into this,
100%.
right? Like that's a big storyline
100%.
for somebody that's been as dominant as you have been for much of the last 3-4 seasons since we came out of the pandemic. It's kind of been, well, if Mason Stillwell's here, he's winning the traditional forms overall, right?
Yeah.
And so a little bit of adversity that you're going to have to face, and you talk about the game plan.
Yes.
And this is something that I want the viewers at home to understand.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Traditional kata competitors absolutely have a game plan. It's not you just go out there and do the kata.
100%.
The kata selection, there's a game plan involved in that.
Yeah.
But specifically, I think that most can understand how when you're up against other Japanese stylists in the traditional challenge division, in the Japanese Okinawan division, you're going to be selecting your form based off of the tendencies of your fellow karate stylists,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
But going into a grand championship where you're paired up with maybe a Japanese stylist, but in this case, Korean stylist, sometimes Kenpo, you're going up against different styles.
Oh yeah.
How does your game plan change to face competitors of different backgrounds compared to other karatekas?
Right. And that's a really, really good question. Like it really honestly depends, number one, on the competitor, how they did the entire weekend. If they go into the weekend and they win all their divisions, I'm like, okay, I got to make sure I up the level of my katas. But I mean, the first thing that I look at is I look at myself and I'm like, okay, I know I got this bad hamstring. So I'm going to automatically rule out these 1 or 2 katas from my list because there's so many kicks and I don't want to have to, deal with bowing out. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I automatically will rule out based on how I'm feeling. And also I look at the referees. I think that's a huge part of it. It's like you can after competing for so long, you recognize names and match them with what they've scored you on before. There's been referees that will score me the highest possible score that they can when I do a specific kata, but if I do a different kata, they won't give it to me. So it's like there's a lot of statistics that go into it. So first thing I looked at was, how am I feeling? Next thing was who are my referees, and then it's going to be who am I going against. Luckily, I was able to compete against all of the people that I was planning on going against tonight. So I kind of got a feel for what everybody was going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I ended up winning that runoff. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything. It's just a runoff. There's no title to that.
Job's not done, right?
Exactly. So job's not finished. I'm not gonna go out and take anything for granted. I want to go in and take it all. So I'm gonna go in and have a couple of katas that I have it down to like 2 or 3, and I'm gonna talk with my coach and see how I'm feeling, see how my warm up is, and go from there. So yeah.
So even right now, we're sitting just under 2 hours before
Oh, yeah.
showtime. And you've got options on the table.
It'll be
10
10 minutes before my division before I decide what I'm gonna do.
Wow.
It's gonna be because especially like after going to Japan, we train this for 4 hours a day for 5 days straight.
Yeah.
It's like we did these 6 katas. I know I have these ready. So it's like, You know, I know that they're ready. I just have to, when I go up there, you know, I'll announce what I announce, and then we'll go with it. So
whatever comes out of your mouth, that's the kind of
exactly. So I know I'm ready, regardless of what I throw. So
for sure. And one thing that I want to start to close with here is something I respect so much about the team that you guys represent, Top 10 Team USA, is everybody that watches my show knows that I'm a Paul Mitchell guy. I bleed black and white,
Absolutely.
Right? But part of the reason that in recent years, since Top 10 Team USA became a thing, that you guys have kind of established yourself in many ways as rivals, both forms and weapons and point fighting,
Absolutely.
is because of the fact that you have both. Like, that's something that I always preach on my shows is if you're going to build a team, it is so important to be a well-rounded team. We've got so many teams that are just fighting teams or just kata teams, forms and weapons teams. That's one of the things that I love so much about what your coaching staff, the organizers of your team has done, is they have built a well-balanced roster that has elite point fighters that are going to be in the finals at almost every tournament and elite forms and weapons competitors that are going to be in the final at almost every tournament.
Right.
So speak a little bit to how special it is to represent that team. Give some shout outs to your coaches. Mason, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge. I mean, you look at all the people that are on our roster, and it's like it feels almost random. You know, it's like there, it's kind of all over the place, but it's that way for a reason. And it's because, you know, when we get put on the team, you know, it's not because we've always been dominant. That's not the case. You know, it's like you see the trajectory and the path that we've been taking, and, you know, you follow that. And really, I think that's the biggest thing is like when you're like on the rise, like that's the best time to get these people, because when you're dominant, you can't be dominant forever. So it's like you have to learn how to deal with adversity, you know, and we've all dealt with our own individual things, and we've pushed through, and regardless of what's happened, like we've been able to establish ourselves. And I think that you know, I think that's a huge thing, and shout out to all of our coaches, you know, being able to scout all over the place. I mean, that's hard to do. You see how many divisions at different rooms. I mean, but we got eyes everywhere, and you know, we did it in a phenomenal job, and I'm just so happy to be on this team. And like even before we even started this team, like all my friends were kata people. Now all my friends are fighters. It's like I didn't talk to fighters before, but it's forced me to kind of like, you know, watch their fights and you know, pick apart little things. I notice their opponents and I talk to them about their game plans. Like it's just overall so positive, and you know, I couldn't be happier with what the coaches have done. So yeah, I'm super happy.
A beautiful description of that culture, and again, like that camaraderie between the forms and weapons athletes and the fighters. Yes. I think is so big. That's one thing that I've always told people that I love so much about being on Paul Mitchell.
Yes.
Is that ever since I joined the team back in 2012, that was always the culture. Like I remember hanging out with Zoltan, Laszlo, and Richie, Tomas,
Legends.
Justin Ortiz, Cam.
Legends.
Like that was my crew. Like I hung out with those guys after tournaments. You know what I mean? And so, Tyreek, I want to get your perspective as well, just being a part of something special.
So I would like to add on to what Mason said. You know, I'm literally the opposite of Mason. So I never really had many many forms friends. And like by choice, if Mason is competing, I love to watch Mason. Mason is, in my opinion, in my opinion, this is my opinion. Mason is my favorite.
In my opinion, he's my favorite.
Mason is my favorite. Mason is my favorite forms competitor. You know, and I was just I was just messing with him too before we even started the podcast. I was like, yo, I saw you doing your form, man. You was real intense. Like you had the tomato face going and everything.
I get that. Yes, sir.
Does Mason ever not have the tomato face going?
Oh, all the time.
He's always intense.
I know how to turn it on and off.
He's so sharp. He's so intense, and our team is just so professional. Like our coaches, our sponsors, they ride out for us. You know, Jared always makes sure we're on point. And even I'm more than even on the fighter side. Enrique is a really fierce competitor. You know, he's the top 1%. You know, and I really enjoy just sharing that same mindset with somebody, you know. And the Spence boys are awesome, man. We go way back. Blake and I played video games together. Like, we've been in tournaments in video games together. Trent and I train together. Like, Trent is so awesome, man. Trent is so awesome. All of our teammates, Jadon, like every single one of them. You know, I love every single one of them. They're so awesome. You know, shout out to Bob, shout out Jared, shout out Becca and the baby.
And the baby. Shout out baby Lily.
Yeah, this team is a dream come true. You know, I do want to like give credit to JPM as well. JPM, like, even though they have fighter and forms competitors, there's also some fighting and forms competitors, like people who do both. You know, and that's not a very easy job to do. You know, when you get to a certain level, usually so you got to make a choice. Yeah. You know, because to be great at something, you can't spend time on two things. But like to all those people doing that on JPM, like, shout out to them. Like, shout out to those
and they're
people.
winning.
Yeah.
They're not just competing. They're winning in both.
They winning. They're coming out with some fire.
Some dogs.
You know.
And like, appreciate that mutual respect. And hey, beautiful testimonies from the both of you. I couldn't have asked for a better answer to that question. And that's what I want the people at home to see, is like the culture of these teams. Like, there's so many karate teams we could talk about. Every single one of them starts to feel like a family at some point.
Yes.
And that's what makes what we do so special, right?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time for this segment, so we got to throw it to next. I can hear, it sounds like some of the women's overall grand championships are still going down right now for some of the Lady Warriors that are going to be on the show next. So we're going to go to a commercial. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to the Battle of Atlanta on YouTube so you can catch the Battle Zone finals tonight. And hopefully, we're going to have some of the top female competitors in the world coming up next right after this break.
Yeah. Come on, bro.
You guys crush it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
A good workout can be elusive, disappearing the moment you look away at some other interest in your schedule. Our attention is divided, and life moves quickly. It can pass you by, even as you're living it. But not you. You make it work. You make the time. The fighting spirit haunts you, and you want to keep it close, right there in your home, where you can keep up the fight. The perfect at-home workout lives on in a new age. The Century Ghost Wavemaster. Ethereal design. Real results.
Watch out for that young boy. JPM, baby.
Welcome back one last time to the Jackson Rudolph Podcast Live. This is Inside Sport Karate as we are just hours away from the Battle Zone Finals. And since we went to commercial, a lot has happened. At one point, I thought that you guys were all still competing and that we weren't going to be able to make this happen. And now we've got like twice the guests that I thought that I was going to get at this time. So joining me is my lovely wife, Gabrielle Rudolph. She is our resident Team Paul Mitchell traditionalist. Sitting in the guest chairs over here, we've got our resident Team Paul Mitchell everything but traditional kata female competitor in Haley Glass, right? Holding it down. We also have representing Team AKA Sarah Campbell. She represents mostly the weapons division, but you can rock some forms divisions too, right? And then of course we've got Katie Herman back here on the other camera. Hopefully we can switch all this stuff in time. We got a packed set right now. And Katie Herman is our female point fighter for Team Paul Mitchell. So with all of this going on right now, as always happens with Jackson Rudolph Podcast Live here at the Battle of Atlanta, I want to start by just giving you each an opportunity to introduce yourselves a little bit. And when you introduce yourself, catch us up. Like what has happened to you guys this weekend? We'll start with Gabrielle.
What's up, guys? I'm Gabrielle Rudolph. I'm this guy's lovely wife, as he says. I've had a pretty successful weekend so far. Yesterday, I made it to the finals for a Korean challenge, so I'm going to be competing in that tonight. I won first place in Japanese Okinawan forms. I won first place in women's Korean forms, and I won first place in Japanese kata. And then I just competed in the women's forms brands, and I won first place in that. So really great weekend. I'm really fortunate.
All right, now we'll pass it over to Haley.
What's up, everyone? My name is Haley, and this weekend I did pretty good. I came back after almost 8 months of being like fully back in the circuit. I was injured in the beginning of the year, and then I was off on a 3-month job with Royal Caribbean. So it's been a long time since I competed, so I was definitely super nervous. But I took home 5 first place, 1 drop this weekend, and then I'll be on stage tonight for both weapons and forms women's overalls.
I love how so far everybody's just talking about all the things that they've won this weekend. It's great. I love it. And then Sarah, will pass it over to you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Campbell, and I've had a pretty successful weekend. I was able to take the Crave non-bladed weapons and then win our weapons runoff, so I'll be on the night show for tonight. And I also was able to take 3rd place for traditional non-bladed, and so yeah, I've had a pretty good weekend.
So just kind of continuing this trend of like, yeah, we're on the show, we win everything, this is what we do. And then now going back to Katie, who also has a win to tell us about.
My name is Katarina Herman. Yesterday, had a little bit of a rockier start. I started off with open weight, lost my 3rd match to Jimena, an amazing fighter. Then had team fights with Savannah from Team United, my home school. Again, we lost to Team Diamond G3. It was a close fight. I think we all lost by 1 or 2. Made some adjustments, came back today, won my weight division, and won heavyweight grand, so I'm fighting on stage tonight for overalls.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back here a little bit, because for everybody watching at home, when we put together the list of people that was going to be featured in this podcast, obviously there's a whole tournament to decide who's actually going to make the finals. I want to make it known that I correctly predicted every single athlete in this segment to make the finals. Bailey Murphy, Tyson Ray, Tyreek Saint, Mason Stowell. I wish that I was a betting man because I would have made some money this weekend. So thank you to all of you ladies for making me right, proving me right when we made this happen. So now we're just going to kind of go around in the circle, and I want you guys to preview the finals tonight. We've talked about how you've gotten there, but now what are you looking forward to? Katie, what's the matchup that you're going to have to face? For Haley, Sarah, Gabrielle, you guys are all going to have situations against one another, right? So let's start with Katie, the fighter back here. Preview your fight this evening.
So tonight I'm going to be fighting Karina from Team Straight Up. We fought a few times. She's an excellent fighter. Same with everyone on Straight Up. It's an incredible fighting team, especially. Super nice girl, both Canadians, so glad to see 2 Canadians on stage for the finals. But yeah, it's going to be good. She's an excellent mover. She has killer defense, killer offense, but I'm going to try to use my length and pull through.
And that's kind of the trademark of Katarina Herman, right?
Yes, sir.
Get your leg up, don't let anybody hit you, just kick them in the face. That's the game plan, right?
The Trevor Nash style, yes sir, absolutely.
And I love the shout out to, of course, Trevor Nash, which, by the way, a lot of people watching at home might recognize that name. He was kind of a big deal as well as Casey Nash,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So while we're on this topic, go ahead and take a minute and talk about getting to train with those two.
It's awesome. Honestly, it is incredible. I'm really lucky to be a very similar build and have a very similar situation as Mr. Nash. So I find that it's really easy for him to coach me and honestly give me little ins on what he used to do. So that's really helpful. Miss Nash, Miss Casey, she is my cardio girl. She, as we know, she's an incredible Paul Mitchell forms and weapons competitor, sometimes fights, but she teaches all of my cardio classes, kind of cardio kickboxing, and they both keep me tippity top shape.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Katie, good luck tonight. We're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to that matchup. That's going to be a great fight. And now we're going to shift the conversation to our forms and weapons competitors. I don't even know who to start with on this one, so I'm just going to default to Gabrielle. Gabrielle, tell us a bit about the matchup that you've got coming in the forms division for that overall grand championship tonight.
So I think I'm definitely going to listen to my body tonight, especially for the Korean Challenge. I'm not sure what I'm going to do tonight. I'm just going to warm up. I'm going to practice all of my forms, see what feels best. I'm going to do the same thing for the women's overall as well. I'm most likely going to compete with my Japanese kata. I'm deciding between two kata. So like I said, just trusting my body and seeing what feels right.
Very political answer. That's good. Not giving too much away. I'm going to trust my body. I'm just going to go do karate.
That's all you gotta do.
And taekwondo, for that matter, in the Korean Challenge. So anyway, now we're going to pivot over to kind of the CMX representatives. I know you ladies hold it down in traditional weapons as well, right? But predominantly what you're going to be known for is your CMX accomplishments, right? So Haley, we'll start with you kind of previewing what you've got coming in the finals.
So tonight, I'm very excited, like I said, to be back. So it's been so long, so I'm definitely a lot more nervous than I have been in a long time, just because it's been too long of a break, and so I haven't really taken a break this long in ever, I think. So coming back and just feeling a little bit of just pressure. It's a scene that I haven't been around for a while too. So just kind of readjusting, getting back to that tournament like nervousness and just making sure that I'm taking the rest that I need, fueling up. That's something I haven't been doing much today, eating or just drinking enough water. So my body's definitely feeling it. So I want to make sure I'm well hydrated, well fed tonight, and then kind of go up there and just remember like who I am up there, if that makes sense. I've kind of taken on this whole other character, I would say, in the past couple of months. So kind of switching back to what I'm known for, my intensity, my CMX divisions. I'm excited to be back. I just have to make sure that I'm, focused and I'm ready, because I definitely got some amazing competition up here with me. So I'll just do my best and we'll see what happens.
And that's one of the things that's so interesting about like elite sport martial arts competitors, particularly like in the weapons division where drops are a factor. I mean, when you're doing extreme and you're tricking, falling down is going to be a factor. Like, this is difficult stuff that these athletes are doing, right? And so the fact that sometimes these athletes have to remind themselves who they are, right? That's not just a Haley Glass thing. That's an everybody thing, right? If you're going through a slump or if you haven't been around in a while, which, by the way, I want to interrupt this topic to talk about why Haley Glass hasn't been around in a while. Number one, you were dealing with an injury at the start of the season, right? You were nursing an injury at the Warrior Cup. You were not at 100% for that, only competing in a fraction of your normal divisions. And then right on the heels of recovering from that injury, you go and perform for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines as one of their headline performers. So before we get into any other sport karate competition, that's cool. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about what you were doing with Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, so it was honestly like so unexpected. I've been around, really, it's just our sport. So tournaments, kind of going, doing camps, just working out together and all these things. But everything I've done is always with martial artists, whether it's just me by myself or doing a team demo, things like that. But it's always with other martial artists. So getting to go out and create a show that's also like a little bit under an hour in comparison to like maybe a minute and a half of a form that we normally run, is definitely insane. We've had so much amazing talent. It was an all-women show. So we had slackliners, we had high divers, we had free divers, synchronized swimmers, and dancers as well. So being the only martial artist making a show intertwining with all these different disciplines of sports and just talents was an amazing time, and getting to travel the world while I do that was just fantastic. One of the best things about it was performing in front of new people every day. With tournaments, people always know who you are for the most part. You're kind of around the same crowd. you see everybody that you know, and it's great, but people have already seen you before. So getting to just wow a crowd of like a new group of people every day was really rewarding. So it was an amazing time. If anybody ever gets the opportunity to do it, I would say go for it.
And what a cool experience that must have been. So thank you for sharing that. And I love that perspective of the fact that it does have an impact on your career as a sport martial arts competitor. And I think that that's a really interesting perspective. We've got one more athlete that we've got to hear from, and that is Sarah Campbell. Looking ahead to the finals tonight, what do you think?
So this is actually my first time in the Battle of Atlanta night show, and so I'm really looking forward to just kind of experiencing that moment. The Battle of Atlanta night show was the first night show that I completely watched, and it really stuck out to me, especially the men's weapons division, in that their grand championship. That's the one grand championship that I just vividly remember, and so getting to kind of have that experience, and it's just something I'm really looking forward to.
Awesome. So all of these ladies in the Battle Zone finals tonight, it is going to be electric. And anybody that watches the Jackson Rudolph Podcast knows that I am a complete martial arts history nerd. And since we've got these 4 amazing female martial artists up here, we're going to close with one question. And the only thing you can answer with is a name. No explanation. You just got to give me a name. We're going to go in a circle, and I just want you to tell me if there was one female martial artist who inspired you most, that our audience is going to go on YouTube and look up as soon as this episode ends. Who is it that really inspired you in that way? Who is it that you want people to know about? We'll start with Katie, because I have a feeling this one's going to be easy.
It's not an easy one. It's not an easy one, Jackson. I wish it was.
For Katie, I thought it was going to be easy.
I'd say 3 names come to mind. Honestly, I'm going to go a little bit of a wild card. Claire Kokoza. Claire Kokoza, I've modeled my leg after ever since I moved to United and worked with Trevor Nash. My whole life, it's been Morgan Plowden. So you said one name, but Claire Kokoza, that leg, that dominance, and how she used it and how she made that length work for her, that's an example for what I need to do. So definitely Kokoza.
And then Casey was the easy
And
one
Casey's
that I was
the
going to
easy
give.
one, of course.
Of course, 2 great inspirations in Claire Kokoza and Morgan Plowden. Now, we got to end this show, so I'm going to hold you guys to the one name real quick. Gabrielle, who is your one female martial artist that everybody should look up?
Rika Usami.
Oh, good.
Thank you for following the rules. I see the grin. You want to say
sorry.
more.
I do. I want
see
to
it.
say so much more. But
And Katie, that wasn't side eye. It's okay.
I had to
forgive
elaborate.
you. I forgive you. It's all good. Haley, one person.
Mackenzie Emery.
Ooh, good one. And Sarah Campbell.
Casey Marsh Snash.
Good choice. As a bow competitor, I got you. Okay.
I like that pick.
Anyway, so that will do it for Inside Sport Karate. And hey, while you guys are going on YouTube and looking up the names of those amazing female martial artists that they just told you about, make sure that you also head on over to the Battle of Atlanta channel and hit the subscribe button so that you can tune into the Battle Zone finals tonight. But before that, we've got the Battle Zone Countdown, a truly one-of-a-kind martial arts analyst experience. You don't want to miss it. Tune in right at 6 o'clock. I will see you there.